Hi, OIS podcast audience. This is the first live episode of the Rob and Jay podcast show. Is it Rob and Jay or is it Jay and Rob?
Rob and Jay.
Rob and Jay, I thought so. Just want to make sure we have the more important name on top of the billing there. But it's great to have you with us today. We are live at OIS 14 in San Diego. And for our inaugural guest, the first guest on the Rob and Jay podcast show, we're going to let Jay do the introduction.
The good Anthony Wallace. I actually put in an NV IOL yesterday from Bausch Lomb. So he's on the executive team for Bausch Lomb Surgical, a great friend of ours and the industry and so forth. So, what brings you here to San Diego?
Well, thank you for the introduction, and I'm
just so
honored.
you know, also, by the way, you will always be our first. Just so you know.
I mean, I am honored. I didn't realize. So this is the Rob and Jay podcast, right?
I think we just decided that was the more proper name. But
I've got it.
Very
now.
original
so
name.
when this in 10 years from now is all over the internet, I was the first, and I'm excited.
Exactly.
But, no, excuse me. This is a great meeting. I've been coming to OIS for quite a while. It's a great way to connect with colleagues. It's a great way to connect with new entrepreneurs. It's a great way to connect with startups, to hear from the investment community as well. And it's something I circle on my calendar every year as a meeting that I definitely want to attend.
That's awesome. That's awesome. But before we get serious, today is November 22nd. So 2 great movies are coming out today. Gladiator or Wicked. Which one?
Well, I promised my son I'd take him to see Gladiator.
Okay,
there you go. Meanwhile, I'm unfortunately going to have to go out there and say it's going to be Wicked for me.
Okay.
I don't know. I saw the show and on Broadway. It was pretty amazing. But so let me ask you a question, though. So in all importance, this meeting in particular, I think is one of the great forums for discussing true innovation in ophthalmology. And we don't get a lot of opportunities to be together, and it's kind of been a little weird, right, over the years in trying to get innovation together. OIS has done a great job of having those meetings, the location, venue, things have changed over time, but we're still here, and there's the sold-out meeting again with loads of people. Is it the interaction that you think is important, or is the actual exchange of ideas where it's really meaningful? Does this help, B&L kind of think about future direction, or is it more just hearing what's going on out in the space?
I think it's more than one thing. I mean, I think first of all, the interactions are always great. It's a great opportunity to connect with colleagues, to build relationships, to meet some new companies, new startups. I always learn every single year at this meeting. There's something that I learn. There's a new company that I wasn't familiar with. But I think one of the most important things is you leave this meeting with ideas on how you can evolve your business, and that's not something that you can really get out of every meeting. Some meetings you have to go to, and you have to just you represent your company and you do your standard meetings. This one is very different. It's got a different feel, and for those that haven't been to OIS before, you go into the meeting room. Every seat is full in that meeting room. You go to other meetings, and not to say that other meetings aren't good as well, but you go to other meetings and you see a lot of people standing out back having discussions, over at the coffee station outside of the room, or they're on phone calls, or they're taking meetings. This meeting, every seat is full both days, and that says something, right? It says the content is good, the ideas are good, learning is good, and the big bonus is you make connections.
Right, and you get Jay and Rob.
And
at
right.
the same time.
Rob and Jay. But yeah,
right,
absolutely.
But so let me, and this is a common thread. We we're going to be doing a bunch of these interviews over the next 48 hours, and one of the topics that's been brought up, and I don't want to put you on the spot at all. I just want to get your sense of how you feel about this. Is that one of the roadblocks to some innovation in our space in particular has been this perceived kind of pullback from the strategic community with regard to how they are involving themselves in the innovation life cycle, where the acquisition prospects don't seem as great, the engagement early on doesn't seem so great. How does B&L kind of address that, or what's the counter argument for the community that keeps making those comments to the investors?
Well, just because you don't see acquisitions and formalized partnerships, I wouldn't assume those connections aren't being made. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of discussions. You leave these meetings and we start those discussions.
Right.
And some of those discussions are multiple years where you're working together. I will tell you, we've even had the opportunity to help design some studies for some companies that we're not even invested in yet because they're interested in a later time frame to partner with us or have us make an acquisition. So they do happen. I think with large strategics, one of the things that we're seeing is, there's just more of vetting that goes on before you're making acquisitions in today's world. We have shareholders to answer to, right? We have bosses and shareholders, and we've made some good and bad decisions in the past, and I think it's just more about trying to get more information to make the better decisions. Doesn't mean we're not interested, and those discussions are really happening. They're just not visible to everybody.
Right. Talk to us about your journey. So Rob and I, throughout the week in the office, we're pharmaceutical, in the OR, we're surgical and so forth. You've had a great, illustrious career in pharmaceutical. And now you've transitioned to surgical here at Bausch, which has had a great resurgence the last couple of years. So talk to us about that. How's it similar? How's it different? How's it exciting for you?
Well, first of all, I still wake up every day and pinch myself that this is my career. I really truly mean that. I started my career as an accountant, and I worked in public accounting and corporate audit, and spending a couple years doing that, and then moving into the healthcare space. It was almost like I've hit the promised land, and it's been truly amazing. One of the things I've always tried to do is gain skill sets in different areas, right? And I think you both do that as well. Trying to learn as much as possible, so as you continue to move on, you continue to be able to add value into projects that you're working on or new therapeutic areas. This is my 13th therapeutic area working in ophthalmology, and it's clearly the area I want to be. I mean, this is the most innovative therapeutic area. It's the highest level of engagements with key opinion leaders, with industry, and with our core customer group. Everyone is really focused on the patient. It's truly amazing, right? Everything we talk about, it's about impact, right? We have the discussions we have on bringing new procedures or pharmaceuticals to market is really around what does this mean for the patient. It's a common thread, and you'll hear that throughout the meeting. So it's really truly been an honor, but it's also been a little bit of luck, right?
Of course.
I mean, to sit here and say I had this all planned out, I did not. As you start to continue in your journey, you start to learn what you want to do more and more. And quite honestly, it just became more and more of making an impact, right? And that's really what's guided me.
When you were an accountant, tax season was twice a year. But now, working at Bausch is probably every day, where it's pretty stressful, right?
It's every minute.
Because here you are leading a great part of the business.
Yeah. Well, the tax season is brutal, as all of you know. And
he hasn't filed his tax returns last couple of years.
That is completely false. Anybody from the IRS listening, I'm very on time with my tax returns.
But no, it's very fast paced, especially surgical, right? Very fast paced. I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, every day you wake up and you're going to make an impact. That day you will make impact. And there's not too many careers that you can say that. Obviously, in the careers that you have and the careers that we do in helping you with your patients are some of those careers. But it's truly extraordinary to be able to make an impact every single day.
You've had some pretty cool launches this year. You want to talk to us about that?
Yeah, so we just recently launched our full range of vision IOL and Vista Envy, and again, what this means for patients is it gives them 4 diopters of continuous range of vision. It gives them, that desire that they need. There's a minimized disphotopsia profile based on the design of the lens, and it's available in all different toric sizes, 9 different versions, to be able to help, you, really nail down the sill that you need to correct for. So we've been really excited. The outcomes have been really good so far. The uptake has been wonderful. And then prior to that, we launched our intermediate optimized lens in Vista Aspire, so adding a little bit something to the monofocal class. So it's been really fun. And then back in January, we launched our excimer laser, which was the first launch in 17 years of a new excimer laser. So we're really trying to make an impact for you and for your ability to treat patients. So that's what we've been working on.
It's funny from some of the podcasts that, I do all the time, going back to your earlier comments, ophthalmology is kind of like the Roach Motel of life sciences, right? It's kind of like you get in, but you can never get out. It's kind of the way it is here. There's a very collegial environment. There's a lot of collaborative interaction that helps, the startup community. It helps the strategic community. It's the one place where I can't imagine in any other field where multiple strategics will get up on stage and discuss their strategic plans. This is what we're trying to do. This is what we're looking for. And those companies are out there, and they all have an opportunity to kind of hear from you guys directly that these are your areas of interest. It's an unusual environment, and the close-knit culture of it is kind of held together by the strategic glue, I think, that you guys have kept, such tight relationships with. You started out as an accountant, I started out as an ophthalmologist, interestingly enough. Still kind of do that, I guess, right?
Yeah, of course.
But the relationships that you have at that level in the offices, in the operating rooms, is kind of really what holds the whole group together, I think. I mean, that's what I think is important.
Yeah, it is one of those unique areas where, as you just mentioned, you could get up and you can present your plan. Right. And even if someone else in the audience that doesn't work for your business has an idea for you, they'll come and approach you in the hallway after that session and say, I think there's something that you could do differently, or I think I could help you. That doesn't happen in other therapeutic areas. At least I haven't seen it. And that's the beauty of this. Everyone has the common goal. In our vision is helping patients see better to live better, but everyone has that common goal. And if it's not my idea, it's your idea, and I can find a way to help you, I'm going to do that. And that's really ophthalmology. That's what it comes down to. But I was laughing about the never get out of ophthalmology. One of the guys I work with, he says the only way you leave ophthalmology is with a toe tag. So that's Kerry Kelson.
It's true.
So we said that. It's so true.
It's remarkably true. And the other interesting thing about it is that there tends to be a connection to something ophthalmic in most people's histories. Some family, some issue, some disease, something that motivated them to end up here. It's kind of unique. And I have friends who are involved in the sort of innovative ecosystem of other disciplines, but they don't describe the feeling of it the same way. It's very unusual.
Well, so what is your 5-year plan?
Yep.
I mean, because surgical, obviously, he and I do a lot of cataracts and MIGS and so forth.
This is your job interview for Jay, by the way.
Anterior segment is important, but there's also the posterior segment. You did a little bit of that over at your previous career and so forth. So what are the plans in surgical for Bausch?
Well, I tell you, we've in 2022, we looked at our entire 5-year strategy and we said, what do we truly want to accomplish? We have a bunch of launches coming up, and we have a lot of new technology. We have a new plan, a new strategy, but what do we really want to accomplish? And we agreed, and we have a 17-person executive team, we agreed that in 5 years, which is the strat plan period, we wanted to double the number of patients we reach in the surgical setting with Bausch Lomb products. So we were reaching about 2 million patients in 2022. And that's, it could be storage instruments, it could be IOL lenses, OVDs, our phaco machines. We wanted to take 2 million and turn it to 4 million. And that is our 5-year vision. And that to us is going to be success at the end of 2027.
That's cool.
And that includes a lot of, the new lenses are a big part of it as mentioned, but it really means, we believe in what we do. We believe in the quality of our products. We want our products to be used for patients, and the best way that we can make an impact is getting those products to you so you can use them on your patients.
It's great. Anthony, thank you so much for taking some time with us today. It was really great to hear about what's in store for Bausch Lomb. We're happy to have you with us as our inaugural guest. Jay is going to buy you something special. He's going to buy you something really nice at some point. He'll do something really well for you, just to remind you of this momentous day.
Who's also a grand sponsor of OIS, so thank you very much. My great friend for many, many years, Andrew Stewart, who is the president of Bausch Lomb Pharma, and works very closely with Brent Saunders, who's been back now for almost a year and a half now, right, as CEO in his second round at Bausch Lomb. But you realize a lot on Andrew here, who is just doing an amazing job in almost every category at Bausch. So, Andrew, welcome.
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, great to be here. Great to be with both of you.
So it's interesting, there's a lot of conversation about Bausch Lomb at these meetings. It's a lot, like really surprising.
After a couple years of being quiet.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the general consensus, I guess, is what the hell's going on, right? So I think that's what we're going to ask you. What the hell's going on? Like, give us a little bit of insight into the mind of the company, in what we can expect from you guys going forward.
Sure. So we have 3 key priorities within the company, and certainly it's around sales, operations and sales excellence. It's within commercial, excellence across the company and overall our improving our operating philosophy across all of our manufacturing network. And then lastly, I would say within innovation and how do we bring new products to market and how do we continue to look for new opportunities to round out our pipeline and our overall portfolio, not just in the pharma business, but across Bausch Lomb.
That's great. You have been a big proponent of a portfolio approach to ocular surface. You guys have now a new vitamin. Mibo has been Mybormis. It's done phenomenal, one of the best launches in eye care. You regrabbed Lifitegrast, you've changed the way people think about it, and you put a Bausch feather on it, and it's done very, very well. So now you have a great franchise. You have Blink that you got from J&J. So it's a whole portfolio. I mean, the next 1,000 patients that we see in our office, somehow, some way, we're going to be able to touch them with one of your products.
Yeah.
So that's really, really fascinating in such a short amount of time. Tell us about that journey.
Yeah, look, I think going back to Brent and his leadership around having category leadership within the dry eye space, and just an area where he familiar with and certainly knows extremely well, and has brought a mindset to Bausch & Lomb around that category leadership in dry eye, which is a growing disease area where we have a very broad portfolio now, Jay, as you mentioned. And so what we're able to do now at Bausch & Lomb is to meet patients and help and partner with ECPs across that patient journey, whether it's the initial introduction of an OTC tier in the Blink franchise, or ultimately providing patients with opportunities for products in the evaporative space with something like Mibo, or ultimately in inflammation with a product like Xiidra. And then, as you mentioned, now with the launch of NutriTears, yet another innovation in the space of having a nutritional in the treatment of dry eye too.
Right.
So there's a lot of innovation out there, right? There's loads of companies. This is an innovation meeting, and
they all want you to buy them.
They all want you to buy them. But I think they all would want involvement, right? So
Sure.
I mean, I think how do you look at the innovation landscape as an opportunity for future growth? Is it something that you seek out in terms of thinking about ideas for yourself? Is it partnership opportunities? How do you work inside this innovation ecosystem?
Within dry eye, Robert, or broader than that?
As a company.
Yeah, look, I think it always starts with patient need, and then also working with great physicians, someone like Dr. J and many others that are here at the meeting today, and in eye care, you really have to have that close partnership across the ecosystem, and that is not only with eye care professionals, but also small and entrepreneurial companies, as you mentioned. And so from my seat and my perspective is the better the innovation, the more that we're able to help patients and physicians in meeting that unmet need, the more that's an opportunity for us to continue to think about how we partner and how we round out our overall portfolio. And so today, we're very focused in dry eye, but there are other disease areas, glaucoma, as we experience. Vyzulta is one of our largest products in the space in the treatment of IOP lowering associated with glaucoma. As we think about the innovations in those spaces, whether they are in the pharmaceutical treatments, but also thinking about the treatment of glaucoma more broadly than that as we move forward as a company. When we think about retinal disease and different areas that we can think about new entrants into the space and a new part of the landscape for us to participate in as well. And so we don't have necessarily a patent on all good ideas or thinking about any one particular category within dry eye, but overall thinking about how can we help and how can we bring new innovations in the space.
So you are thinking about a portfolio management in retina,
for sure,
as well as glaucoma.
Yeah.
So I follow you on LinkedIn all the time, and you just did a worldwide tour. So I think you're the first interview today where you've actually, right now, are holding a seat on the landscape of eye care worldwide. I think you've traveled to a lot of countries
Sure.
in this new role and so forth. So tell us about global eye care and how America leads or America learns.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on that?
So look, I mean, I would say that first Bausch & Lomb has a very large global footprint, to your point, in approximately 100 companies around the world, both from a pharmaceutical standpoint, but also more broadly in contact lens and also surgical as well. And so from a leadership standpoint, certainly we look across many of our core markets, not just the U.S., but we think about some of the larger markets outside the U.S. That's our starting point in terms of our thinking of a commercial footprint of any of the innovations that we bring in the space. And so the U.S. dynamics and the U.S. market certainly become more favorable economically. And so the United States clinical development programs tend to be a little bit further ahead in most cases than some of the OUS programs that we have. But overall, we'll still look to treat patients and those patients who still have serious chronic diseases within the eye health space, and how can we help and partner with them?
Yeah, with the expansion of the middle class around the world,
Sure.
there's just a lot of folks that want earlier intervention and vision. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I mean, there's so many markets, to your point, Jay, that are emerging markets, growing markets, that are allowing us to rethink our business and our footprint in some of those markets where we might have been a distributor at one particular time, but have moved then to a direct market in those particular countries. And so we're constantly looking at our geographic footprint and trying to see where it makes sense for us as a company in order to participate.
We've heard from some other people that there's, this continuous ongoing top-down pressure from the payers to try and make things more accessible, more affordable. Does that impact you directly in terms of your thinking regarding future developments?
Sure.
I mean, how much does that play into the decisions of where you want to expand? Because
Sure.
it's been an ongoing issue that's come up, especially in the innovation cycle, about where companies have to evaluate the commercial pathways during their life cycle, and it's earlier and earlier. So,
look, it's definitely a factor, David, right? And so when we think about the products that we invest in and the very extensive, expensive clinical trial pathways in order to bring new medicines to market, then you want to be rewarded for spending and investing and bringing these types of innovations to market. And so you're always looking at what that overall investment hypothesis will be, what the investment is required, and then ultimately, from an access perspective, what is it going to take in order to achieve access so that we are working with health plans, we're working with insurance companies, and that we're giving physicians an opportunity to use the products that we develop. So it's 100% a factor in our thinking. And so when we look at disease areas that are well suited and well served, then those become higher hurdles. We're not really interested in bringing Me Too products into the marketplace. Right. We're looking at bringing new products that are innovative, that are differentiated, and that are bringing a new medicine to market that's valuable, as opposed to trying to differentiate the same medicine with the same type of molecule.
I mean, in dry eye, you tackle the evaporative. We didn't even put evaporative in our charts for 25 years, 30 years, right?
Right.
Now it's evaporative, but the other innovation part of it too is that you brought it to us, the access, in a very innovative way.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. Innovation is not just in clin dev and R&D, it's also market access.
Yeah. Well, look, one of the things that I've certainly learned from Jay and many other ECPs along my journey is in the end of the day, physicians don't treat market access, they treat clinical outcomes, right? And so they're trying to treat patients. And so, in the end of the day, we have to bring products that are helping them with strong data packages and strong information that is helping them treat patients, right? And so access can become a barrier, but it needs to be an enabler. It needs to be a way for Jay in order to treat his patients within his practice. If we take a look at the evaporative landscape and we take a look at a drug like Mibo in particular, something that's met both signs and symptoms of dry eye, statistical significance at day 15 and day 57 in 2 consecutive studies. There's no other dry eye drug that's ever done that. And so having a drug that has that ability to be differentiated in the space is substantial for us, and it's substantial for you, right? And so that's why it's an important investment for us and important for patients.
Well, as a glaucoma specialist, I don't really care about dry eye. But
You created
you create dry eye.
Thanks for Vyzulta. Thanks,
that's good.
Thanks for Vyzulta, because I love that drug, but I don't really care about this other stuff.
Right.
Andrew, thank you for taking the time today.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, Rob.
Really
Sorry about
pleasure. And thanks, OIS audience.
Absolutely, yeah.
We'll look forward to the next interview.
Thanks very much. That was fun.